The Global Alliance. The United Nations Environmental Crisis Summit was unlike any previous gathering. Gone were the polished diplomatic speeches and bureaucratic posturing. Instead, a palpable sense of desperation hung in the air of the converted research facility in Geneva. Anika Patel stood before a holographic display, her slim frame belying the intensity of her presence. Behind her, a complex web of data points, molecular structures, and environmental projections told a story of both impending doom and potential salvation. Marcus Rodriguez sat in the front row, his support providing a crucial backstop for the young researcher. "We're beyond traditional solutions," Anika began, her voice clear and resolute. "Our microorganism isn't just another carbon capture technology. It's a living network, capable of adapting to multiple environmental conditions and transforming carbon at a molecular level we've never seen before." The room was filled with representatives from every corner of the globe, climate scientists, environmental ministers, industrial leaders, and indigenous community representatives. Some looked skeptical, others desperate. The past decade had been brutal. Entire island nations had disappeared, massive population displacements had created unprecedented global tensions, and traditional economic models had collapsed under the weight of environmental instability. Dr. Kwame Osei, a renowned climate scientist from Ghana, leaned forward. "The risk is immense," he cautioned. "Introducing a genetically engineered organism on a global scale could have catastrophic unforeseen consequences." Anika had anticipated this objection. She brought up a series of simulations, each meticulously documented, showing controlled tests in various environments. "We've developed multiple fail-safe mechanisms," she explained. "The microorganisms have a built-in genetic kill switch. They can't reproduce outside controlled parameters, and they're designed to break down completely if they deviate from their primary function." Marcus stepped up, adding his credibility to Anika's presentation. "We're not asking for blind faith," he said. "We're proposing a phased, carefully monitored global implementation. Each region will have its own specialized variant, adapted to local conditions." The real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Elena Rodriguez, Marcus's daughter and a leading expert in global supply chain management, presented the implementation strategy. It was a masterpiece of logistical innovation that addressed the primary concern of every nation: how to deploy such a massive technological intervention without causing additional disruption. Her plan involved a decentralized approach that would empower local communities. Rather than a top-down implementation, each region would have research teams working in conjunction with local environmental experts, indigenous knowledge holders, and community leaders. "This isn't about a single solution imposed from above," Elena explained. "It's about creating a global network of environmental restoration, where local knowledge and scientific innovation work hand in hand." The most surprising support came from sectors that had previously been environmental adversaries. Representatives from major industrial conglomerates saw an opportunity not just for survival, but for economic reinvention. The proposed technology offered a way to transform their existing infrastructure, creating new jobs and opening unprecedented markets. Alexander Volkov, a Russian industrial magnate who had once been known for his massive oil interests, surprised everyone. "We cannot fight the future," he declared. "Our previous models are dead. This is our chance to rebuild." The next 48 hours were a whirlwind of negotiations, technical discussions, and collaborative planning. Teams from different nations began working on specialized variants of the microorganism. A Kenyan research team focused on desert restoration. A Brazilian group worked on Amazon rainforest adaptation. Teams in Arctic and Antarctic regions developed cold-resistant strains. What emerged was more than a technological solution. It was a new model of global cooperation. Countries that had been historical enemies now worked side by side, united by a common goal of planetary survival. Anika watched in amazement as the impossible began to take shape. The microorganism that had started as a theoretical concept in her small Mumbai laboratory was now becoming a global project of unprecedented scale. "We're writing a new chapter of human history," Marcus whispered to her during a brief moment of respite. "Not through conflict, but through collaboration." As the summit concluded, the world held its breath. The first large-scale tests were set to begin in just 3 months. Humanity stood at a crossroads. Either this would be the solution that saved the planet, or it would be remembered as the most spectacular failure in scientific history. The challenge was clear. The stakes could not be higher. And for the first time in decades, there was a genuine sense of hope. Technological breakthrough. The research facility in the heart of the Amazon rainforest was unlike any scientific outpost in history. Constructed from sustainable materials that blended seamlessly with the surrounding ecosystem, it represented the pinnacle of human adaptation and technological innovation. Dr. Anika Patel stood at the center of a circular laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays that pulsed with complex data streams. The initial global tests of the carbon-transforming microorganisms had yielded both promising results and unexpected challenges. What had seemed like a straightforward solution in Geneva was proving to be a far more intricate puzzle. "We're missing something," Anika muttered, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Beside her, Dr. Elena Rodriguez and a diverse team of researchers from 12 different countries worked tirelessly, their collective expertise focused on a single goal. The microorganisms had shown remarkable adaptability in controlled environments, but real-world implementation revealed complex interactions they hadn't anticipated. In some regions, the organisms worked brilliantly, rapidly sequestering carbon and transforming environmental conditions. In others, they struggled, their genetic programming fighting against unexpected ecological complexities. Carlos Mendoza, a Brazilian environmental engineer, pointed to a particularly challenging dataset. "Look at the interaction in the Amazon basin," he said. "The microorganisms are struggling with the incredibly complex microbial ecosystem here. It's not just about carbon capture, it's about finding a way to integrate without disrupting." The breakthrough came from an unexpected collaboration. Dr. Kwame Osei, connecting remotely from a research station in Ghana, suggested something radical. "We're thinking about this wrong," he said during a global video conference. "We're trying to impose a solution, when we should be listening to the ecosystem." This simple insight sparked a complete reimagining of their approach. Instead of creating a universal microorganism, they began developing adaptive platforms that could communicate with existing ecological systems. It was less about replacement and more about symbiosis. Elena Rodriguez's supply chain expertise proved crucial. She developed an AI-driven monitoring system that could track the microorganism's performance in real time, making micro-adjustments faster than any human could. The system learned, adapted, and communicated across global networks, creating a living, breathing technological ecosystem. The most surprising contribution came from an indigenous research team led by Maria Tekahianwake, a Canadian First Nations environmental scientist. Her team's deep understanding of ecological balance provided insights that pure technological approaches had missed. They introduced traditional ecological knowledge that transformed the microorganism's genetic programming. "Technology without wisdom is just noise," Maria often said. Her approach wasn't about controlling nature, but about creating a dialogue with it. Weeks turned into months of intense research. The global team worked in shifts, their passion driving them beyond traditional scientific boundaries. They weren't just developing a technological solution, they were reimagining humanity's relationship with the planet. The first major breakthrough came during a test in the Sahel region of Africa. A microorganism variant developed with local scientists showed an unprecedented ability to restore degraded land. Within weeks, areas that had been barren for decades began showing signs of life. Grasses sprouted, microbiological activity increased, and the first hints of ecological recovery emerged. It wasn't just a scientific achievement. It was a message of hope. Marcus Rodriguez, now coordinating global research efforts, recognized the deeper significance. "We're doing more than saving the planet," he told Anika during a late-night strategy session. We're proving what humans are capable of when we truly work together. The technological barriers were far from completely overcome. Each solution brought new questions, new challenges. But for the first time in decades, there was a genuine sense that humanity might have a way forward. As the research team celebrated their initial success, no one knew exactly what challenges lay ahead. But they had something more powerful than any single technological solution. They had hope. They had collaboration. And they had an unwavering belief in human potential. The fight to save the planet was far from over. But the first, most crucial battle had been won. The global transformation. The world watched with a mixture of hope and skepticism as the first large-scale implementation of the ecological restoration project began. What had started as a speculative scientific endeavor was now a global movement that touched every continent, every ecosystem. In the Sahara Desert, massive solar-powered drone networks deployed the specially designed microorganisms. Sophisticated sensors tracked their progress, creating a real-time map of environmental restoration that was accessible to scientists and citizens alike. Where once there was only sand and scorched earth, the first hints of vegetation began to emerge. Elena Rodriguez stood in the United Nations Command Center, coordinating the global effort. Her wall of screens showed a living, breathing representation of planetary healing. Green patches spread across previously barren landscapes, ocean-dead zones began to show signs of life, and atmospheric carbon levels started to stabilize for the first time in decades. But the path was far from smooth. Political resistance emerged from unexpected quarters. Some national governments, fearing loss of control or economic disruption, attempted to slow or block the implementation. Industrial groups that had previously supported the project now saw potential threats to their existing power structures. In the Middle East, a coalition of oil-dependent nations initially tried to obstruct the project. But Maria Tekahayanwake and her team of international diplomats turned this challenge into an opportunity. They demonstrated how the new ecological technologies could create entirely new economic opportunities, transforming fossil fuel economies into leaders of environmental restoration. Dr. Anika Patel found herself at the center of both scientific breakthrough and global diplomacy. Her original concept had evolved into something far beyond her initial imagination. The microorganism platform was now a global network of ecological intelligence, adapting and learning with unprecedented speed. The most significant challenges came from unexpected interactions within complex ecosystems. In the Amazon, the restoration efforts revealed intricate relationships between microorganisms, plant life, and local climate patterns that no one had anticipated. Each solution brought new questions, new mysteries to unravel. Kwame Osei's AI-driven monitoring system proved crucial. It could detect and respond to ecological changes faster than any human team, making micro-adjustments that prevented potential ecological disruptions. The system wasn't just monitoring, it was learning, evolving, creating a symbiotic relationship between technological innovation and natural systems. Perhaps the most profound impact was social. The Global Restoration Project had done what decades of political negotiations had failed to accomplish. Nations that had been historical enemies now worked side by side. Scientific teams from countries once in conflict shared data, collaborated, and celebrated collective achievements. A young researcher from India worked alongside colleagues from Pakistan. Scientists from the United States collaborated seamlessly with teams from China, Russia, and Iran. The project had created a new kind of global citizenship, transcending traditional political boundaries. Marcus Rodriguez, now leading the global coordination efforts, reflected on the transformation. "We're not just saving the planet," he told a global press conference. "We're reimagining what it means to be human. We're proving that our greatest strength lies in our ability to work together, to adapt, to solve seemingly impossible challenges." The economic implications were staggering. Entire industries were being transformed. Renewable energy, ecological restoration, and adaptive technologies created millions of new jobs. Countries that had been economically struggling found themselves at the forefront of a new global economy. But challenges remained. The restoration was not complete. The microorganism platform was still a work in progress, requiring constant monitoring, adjustment, and innovation. Some ecosystems showed remarkable recovery, while others continued to struggle. As the first year of global implementation drew to a close, the world held its breath. The initial results were beyond the most optimistic predictions. Atmospheric carbon levels were dropping. Biodiversity began to show signs of recovery. Regions once considered lost were showing unprecedented resilience. It wasn't a complete victory. But it was something far more powerful, a testament to human potential, to the power of collective imagination and unwavering determination. The planet was healing. And humanity had found its true purpose. A new dawn of hope. 5 years had passed since the global ecological restoration project began. The world was unrecognizable from the desperate landscape that had existed just half a decade earlier. Anika Patel stood on the observation deck of the International Ecological Research Station, overlooking what was once the barren Sahara Desert. Now, a vibrant ecosystem stretched as far as the eye could see. Scattered vegetation had given way to a complex landscape of interconnected plant life, with new species emerging that seemed to defy previous scientific understanding. "We didn't just restore the planet," she said to the group of young researchers around her. "We reimagined our relationship with it." The global transformation had been more profound than anyone could have predicted. The microorganism platform that began as a speculative scientific concept had become the foundation of a new approach to planetary management. It was no longer about controlling nature, but about creating a symbiotic relationship with the complex ecosystems of Earth. Elena Rodriguez, now leading the Global Ecological Coordination Council, presented the latest data during an international conference. The numbers were nothing short of miraculous. Atmospheric carbon levels had dropped by 40%. Biodiversity was showing unprecedented recovery. Regions once considered lost were now thriving ecosystems. But the most significant change was not environmental, it was human. The project had fundamentally altered how humanity viewed itself and its place in the world. The desperate competition that had characterized previous decades had been replaced by a model of collaborative problem-solving. Nations that had once been bitter enemies now worked together as partners. Marcus Rodriguez, now in his 70s, reflected on the journey during a global broadcast. "We discovered our true potential," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "Not as conquerors of the planet, but as its caretakers. Not as separate from nature, but as an integral part of it." The economic transformation was equally profound. The old fossil fuel industries had been completely reinvented. Countries that had once relied on resource extraction now led the world in ecological restoration technologies. Millions of new jobs had been created, not in destruction, but in healing. Maria Tekahayanwake's work with indigenous communities had been particularly transformative. Traditional ecological knowledge, once marginalized, was now at the forefront of scientific innovation. The line between scientific research and cultural wisdom had blurred, creating a more holistic approach to understanding the planet. Dr. Kwame Osei's AI monitoring system had evolved into something far beyond its original design. It was now a global neural network that helped humanity understand the intricate connections within ecological systems. The AI didn't just monitor, it helped predict, prevent, and heal. The young researchers gathered around Anika represented a new generation. They had grown up in a world of hope, of collaboration, of possibility. The existential dread that had characterized previous generations was gone, replaced by a sense of purpose and potential. "We're not finished," Anika told the group. "This is just the beginning." New challenges would emerge. The restoration of the planet was an ongoing process, not a completed task. But humanity had discovered something fundamental about itself, the power of collective imagination, of working together, of seeing beyond immediate challenges to create something extraordinary. As the sun set over the transformed landscape, casting golden light across ecosystems that had been dead mere years ago, there was a sense of something profound. It wasn't just about saving the planet. It was about becoming something more. A global civilization. A planetary species. Caretakers of life itself. The cry for help had been answered. Not by a single hero, but by humanity working as one.